my great pleasure now to introduce our speaker, Claire Daugherty. She had a near-death experience, and she also relates well to the wisdom, as I said earlier, and assistance and healing of angels. She's a medium, and she helps people to explore how to mobilize spiritual help from the angelic world. I've gotten to get to know Claire and Levi a little more over coming to some of these classes that we have, and I have to say that they're both so full of love and light, and I feel very uplifted anytime I'm near you. So let's open our mind and hearts to what Claire has to share with us today, which I know will probably be just what we need to hear.
Good morning, everyone. I'm very happy to see, I'm a member of this church, and Levi and I joined in December, but I'm also a member of another church that I joined 53 years ago, and I'm happy to see my pastor sitting in the second row who came from Yorktown. Could you stand up, Mary Ellen? Thank you for making that effort. You really feel loved when someone will drive that distance. And I also see some of my friends from my book club, Mary Kay and Susan and Debbie, who's been recovering recently, and Kathleen, who is a regular here sometimes. Thank you for coming. Susan, how far did you drive? Wow. Now those are true friends. We've had a very intense week. We've had 3 funerals in 1 week in 3 different states. So we just got home yesterday after a very long drive from Northern Virginia. It's normally 3.5 hours. We left at 7:30 in the morning, made a quick stop for takeout coffee, and got home just before 2 in the afternoon. So that gives you some idea of the conditions. Those are fairly typical for a Saturday in the summer coming south, but it's been quite a week. It's really interesting to see how the spirit world is so active. I did not have the time, with going from state to state, funeral to funeral, to send in the quotes I had chosen on forgiveness, but some of them were right there in the bulletin. And I had some others that I'd like to share. There's not one person sitting in here that doesn't have something to forgive. We've all been hurt in our lives. If you haven't been hurt, you're not human. And some of the deepest hurts happen in our own families. But we, in many cases, wish to maintain those relationships. Sometimes, if they're really toxic, we have to put a safe space between us. But we don't have to stop loving anyone. Jesus told us to love our enemies, do good to those who hate you and spitefully use you. And he sure did set a good example. He was an innocent man. Even the thief on his right-hand side chastised the other one who said, well, if you're the Son of God, get us out of this mess. And he said, shut up, we deserve to be here, but this is an innocent man. He came to bring the Christ consciousness so that a new world order could emerge. And Rome was ready and waiting. Rome was one of the most advanced civilizations of the ancient world. They had hot running water indoors, things that were lost for centuries afterwards. They had an incredible system of highways and waterways, aqueducts. Many of those aqueducts and highways are still standing 2,000 years later in Europe. And if Jesus had been received by those who had been carefully prepared through generations, the era of love and light could have come very quickly. If Jesus could have gone to Rome, the world would have been changed overnight. We see an example. St. Patrick, who many people don't realize was a Roman, actually. He was from England, Roman England, Britain, it was called at the time, and he was enslaved and sold in Ireland. And after, I believe it was 7 years of working as a shepherd in very remote places, he didn't really have enough to eat or proper shelter. He managed to escape and get on a ship and went back to Britain. And he had a spiritual experience that told him to go back to Ireland and to spread the gospel. And that took a lot of courage and a real heart of forgiveness. But he obviously had some powerful spirit world working with him, because very quickly the Irish kings were converted. And as you know, in those days, whatever the king's religion is, that's yours too, like it or not. So Ireland overnight accepted Jesus and accepted the gospel. And one of the number one teachings of the gospel of the New Testament is forgive. And as Jesus was dying on the cross, he cried out, "Father, forgive them. They know not what they do." So I can't think of a better example than that. I had some really good quotes from people known and unknown. One was from Nelson Mandela, who was imprisoned for decades due to speaking up against apartheid. And he said, as I walked out the door toward the gate that would lead to my freedom, I knew if I didn't leave my bitterness and hatred behind, I'd still be in prison. So forgiveness, as one of the quotes said, it's to free you. It's to release those shackles that hold you prisoner. Some things are really big and can take a lifetime to forgive. And forgiveness is not, Martin Luther King said, I don't think I can find the quote, but he said it's not an occasional act. It's an ongoing process. It's an attitude. And when you're dealing with the really big, big things, parental abuse or neglect, marital infidelity or abandonment, abandonment by your children, those can take time. It's like an onion. The first step is you make a decision to forgive. And then you ask God, show me how. And you associate with people who are studying this, people who have a spiritual practice, a walk of faith, whatever fits you, and you learn layer by layer by layer. And the hardest forgiveness of all, I do believe, is to forgive ourselves. Because we have all done wrong in our life. We've all hurt someone, usually not intentionally, especially the people we love, but nevertheless, it's possible that we cause great harm. So self-forgiveness is the most freeing in the end. Here's a quote by somebody called Najwa Zebian. I've never heard of them, but I really like the quote. Today, I decided to forgive you, not because you apologized or because you acknowledged the pain that you caused me, but because my soul deserves peace. So if you would like to, as Nelson Mandela said, be free, come out of that prison, then I invite you to really look at the most painful things you've experienced. Sometimes we suppress them. I can't remember who said it, but when they're suppressed, he said, they just leak out the sides. You know, when you experience profound pain, in whatever shape or form it takes, as I said, it could be from your parents, from your spouse, from your children, from your best friend, people that you thought really had your back, and then they stabbed you in the back. Those are the hard ones, but as I said, even harder is when you come to yourself and you look at your own acts of, call them what you will. I like Eckhart Tolle's definition of sin. He said it's missing the mark. You know, it's not the ultimate goal. It's not where we want to go. Oscar Wilde, who was very witty and a bit sarcastic, said, "Forgive your enemies. Nothing annoys them so much." Sometimes people think that forgiveness means releasing the perpetrator from responsibility. It doesn't. Forgiveness is between you and God. It's about releasing yourself from those hooks. What the perpetrator, their job is their job. That's between them and God. But forgiveness is between me and God. This is somebody else I never heard of, Daniel Kopke. Forgiving someone doesn't mean condoning their behavior. It doesn't mean forgetting how they hurt you or giving that person room to hurt you again. Forgiving someone means making peace with what happened. It means acknowledging your wound, giving yourself permission to feel the pain, and recognizing why the pain no longer serves you. It means letting go of the hurt and resentment so that you can heal and move on. So if you have toxic people in your family, who every time you see them, the wound has salt rubbed in it, create a spiritual relationship with them. Write them letters that you never mail. Practice praying for them. Another quote, I don't remember who it was, but in essence it says, when you forgive, you release the pain, you acknowledge what happened, you choose to forgive it, you pray for the person who wronged you, and then the process is complete. Bless that person. Because, as we all know, hurting people hurt other people. Many times the people that commit the most egregious wrongs to us have been deeply wounded themselves. And they're really unable to take total responsibility. If those wrongs were committed in their childhood, maybe they never were able to get past that. Maybe they're still stuck as a child or an adolescent and unable to really understand the impact of what they do. I'm going to read something from Mother Teresa. People are often unreasonable and self-centered. Forgive them anyway. If you are kind, people may accuse you of ulterior motives. Be kind anyway. If you are honest, people may cheat you. Be honest anyway. If you find happiness, people may be jealous. Be happy anyway. The good you do today may be forgotten tomorrow. Do good anyway. Give the world the best you have, and it may never be enough. Give your best anyway. For you see, in the end, it's between you and God. It was never between you and them anyway. Mother Teresa. Now, I do have some handouts that anybody who wants, I have quite a few of them, so if you would like to use this, in fact, I actually do a workshop on forgiveness because I've had to do a lot of it in my life. And I found in the beginning when I really was working on it, I was kind of sloppy. It's like exercising. The more you do it, the better you get at it. Like playing the piano. They say it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert. And I've been working on this my whole life. So I don't think I've graduated yet, but hopefully when I cross over that line, I'll have my PhD. These are 10 steps to forgiveness. I'm sorry I don't know where these came from, but they are given to me by a dear friend. Some of you know him, James McMillan. He's crossed over already, but this was a beautiful gift he left me. Number 1, decide on the hurt. You have been hurt. Sometimes hurt might come through someone else. It might be your child getting bullied, a sibling going through a nasty divorce. Your husband was wronged at work. But 99% of the time, the hurt is personal. Own it. 2, be real, honest. How badly were you hurt? Don't be fake, be honest. The pain is real. This is a fact. Give yourself permission to grieve and cry if you need to. I found that to be very effective. Just cry until there's nothing left. It is impossible to get past a hurt you cannot define. State what you want. Number 3, what do you want? Why do you want to forgive? Are you looking for freedom, peace, for a brighter future? Your answer is your goal. Someone said, and I don't remember who, forgiveness cannot change the past, but it can enlarge the future. 4, choose to forgive. Forgiveness is a choice. By choosing to forgive, you're deciding what you want to do with the hurt. Instead of letting your bitterness fester, you are deciding that you want to put the issue to rest. The fact that you're choosing to forgive automatically puts you in control. 5, verbalize your forgiveness. With the person you are choosing to forgive and the incident in mind, declare it as a prayer. God, I forgive, fill in the blank, for what he or she did. I release him or her. Please make me free and show me your truth about the situation. God, help me see as you see him or her. Help me love blank as you love them, and forgive him or her as you have forgiven me, because they did not know what they were doing. That's what Jesus said. 6, cover the offense. Part of forgiving is burying the offense. There is a mini funeral of sorts, and you lay to rest the wrong that has been done to you. In choosing to forgive, you give up your right to use the offense as leverage to get something from the person who hurt you. 7, show love. When you choose to forgive someone, you are in control. This is how you are able to show them love, no matter what they have done to you. Part of showing love is helping the other person to be free. 8, pray for them. And it gives a scripture, Matthew 5:44. By praying for the person who hurt you, you are pushing your forgiveness to the next level. Prayer reveals what is in the heart. 9, look for reconciliation if possible. Forgiveness and reconciliation are not synonymous. Sometimes the safest thing to do, the most loving thing to do, is to distance yourself. Not give that person space to repeat the offense. Look for reconciliation if possible. Having a relationship restored through forgiveness is absolutely wonderful. Don't pressure the other person. It takes one person to forgive, but 2 people to mend a relationship. You can forgive someone who insists they never did anything wrong. That's not reconciliation. It takes 2 people for reconciliation. But if that person is unwilling to acknowledge the crime or the hurt, you can still forgive. Not every relationship can be salvaged. Try to communicate and clear the air if you can. But remember, there is always a limit to what you can do. This is because the majority vote for the reconciliation rests in the hands of the offending part. You cannot bring it about yourself. 10, move on. The day has come. It is time. You have forgiven, released, and prayed for the person who hurt you. You've done your best to bring restoration. Now it's time to move on. What would be your next goal? And there's another scripture, Colossians 3, 1 through 4. Sorry I didn't look them up, but I'll let you do that. If you find these inspiring, I'll be happy to give you a copy. A wounded spirit is an injury or hurt to any part of our soul or spirit faculties, mind, emotions, and will. A wounded spirit or heart occurs when someone or something brings hurt to our emotions. A wounded spirit or heart involves hurt to the unseen area of our being. The emotional pain may be expressed as depression, guilt, anxiety, fear, and anger, and many other ways. I read some very interesting work about verbal abuse. And many times the verbal abuse was accompanied with physical abuse. But in 100% of the cases, these were all women, the women who had been both verbally abused and physically abused said that the verbal abuse was far worse. The physical wounds heal and seem easier to forgive, but the verbal abuse is much harder because it's the spirit that's wounded. There are lists on this, there's another handout, if you like, that's got some descriptions of the cause of most wounds and what are the results of most wounds. But carrying around something you haven't yet forgiven is like having a wound that's never been cleaned out. And it's full of gravel and dirt. It's going to get infected. And it's going to become systemic. And it's going to shape your worldview when you carry around those hurts, especially the big ones. And as I said, the most painful ones come from the people you love the most. Your parents, your spouse, your children, maybe your grandchildren, your best friend. Fred Rogers, you remember Mr. Rogers? He was actually an ordained minister. And he said, it's easier to forgive our enemies than our friends. And the hardest people of all to forgive are the ones we love the most. So I invite you to just kind of meditate on this and ask who in your life, it doesn't have to be a who, it can be a situation, an unjust thing that happened in your profession, something that's ongoing right now. But look inward and see, how can you free yourself? As Nelson Mandela said, as he was walking out of prison after decades, I have to leave the hatred and the bitterness behind, or I'll still be in prison. So if you would like to be free, it might be something small that's lurking in a corner. It might be something big that you've been dealing with your whole life. But the more you can forgive, the freer you can become. I guess the three things, as I said, my three favorite topics, and I do a workshop on all three, are angels, gratitude, and forgiveness. And forgiveness used to be really hard. I felt like I was in the Garden of Gethsemane because I felt like I have to really look inside myself and see, am I carrying any unforgiveness? How can I teach other people to forgive unless I've really done the work myself? And I guess I'm 75. As I think it was Susan that said I'm a level 75. If you think of age as an achievement in a game, I've had more practice, and it's getting easier and easier. And I always have new things coming at me as I get older and older. And I used to think that once your children are grown and on your own, you're done. But no, little children, little problems, big children, big problems. They just keep giving you more and more to deal with. And grandchildren can be the same, sometimes even more. Usually not when they're little, they're just so cute. But when they become young adults and teenagers, it can be very challenging, sometimes more than when your own kids were teenagers and young adults. So if you would like any of these handouts, please let me know. I'll be sharing this same talk. I'll keep at least one for copies because I'll be doing this same talk at my other church. I think Peg said she collects churches. And I really could relate to that because I still have one, I never renewed my membership, but often I've had 2 or even more going at the same time. And it's kind of like having a favorite restaurant. Well, for Thai food, I love this place. But for Mexican food, this one is the best. And each one has something slightly different to offer. It's like your blood family and your in-laws. You know, they can be really different, but you can love them both. Actually, my other church, what Mary Helen is the pastor of, there's an incredible amount of similarity. That's why I felt so at home here with the Fellowship of the Inner Light. And as we learn the teachings of Paul Solomon, we're just saying, wow, we've heard this before, because this new revelation of truth is coming from the same source, yeah, and the same realms. Like, religion comes in all different flavors, but there are many different levels of that truth. So as you get more to the level of dogma and doctrine, things look really different. But the higher up you go, the more similar they start to look, because you're getting closer and closer to the source. So those of you who are visitors here, or maybe first time or just have come a couple times, I really invite you to come back. And please come on the 2nd and 4th Mondays, and you can learn about the channelings, the revelations from Paul Solomon, which are really juicy. There's a lot to sink your teeth in. Yeah, but we're studying new science right now. 7 o'clock, 7 to 8:30. Every other Monday, the 2nd and 4th Mondays, right here. Thank you so much.